All right, so today I want to talk about the difference between suppressing your emotions and regulating your emotions because what I know to be true is oftentimes that is confused. So, first of all, before we get started, let's check this out for you because you may be wondering this about somebody you're perhaps dating, maybe your kid or somebody else in your orbit. But I find the best way to develop your emotional IQ, right, is by first assessing yourself. And when you're able to tap in and observe and understand what's going on with your own emotions, then it's a little easier for you to assess the emotions of others. So how does that sound? Hopefully that sounds good. Let's get into it. Well, before I go any further, let me tell you who I am and who I be on these streets. My name is Joe Bullock, and I am a life and relationship transformational coach, helping you to really just get the healing that you desire, manifested transformation through the renewing of your mind so you can really just elevate your life and operate in your life calling. A lot of times that healing comes through really just sharing your truth and sharing your story and going from there. So without further ado, let's talk about it. I did some research on this because I wanted to bring in some professional experience from some licensed professional in regards to this topic. I have my own opinion and observations, but I wanted to just kind of like get some stuff to make it stick. So let's get into it. Emotional intelligence, first and foremost, let's define it. It's actually called EQ. It's a key predictor of mental health, right? And it refers to your ability to one, be aware of the emotion you're experiencing, to be able to regulate that emotion, and to express your emotions to others. And it doesn't stop there. It's also your ability to observe the emotions of others and have a level what we call attunement, which is means you see somebody expressing, it could be a nonverbal cue or it could be a verbal cue, but usually a nonverbal cue, and you are able to respond to that emotion in an appropriate way. See, what I feel like a lot of times we get confused is we think that emotional intelligence is not getting angry, is not being aggressive, is not yelling, and perhaps even not responding. But a lot of times, what I know to be true is not so much that that's emotional intelligence as much as it's emotional suppression. See, emotional suppression, I believe a lot of people, and I think particularly men, tend to do this a little better than women oftentimes. And even I believe women in executive positions and roles, leadership, tend to have mastered this skill is rather than showing that outward expression and having that whatever that would be deemed as a negative expression of emotions to be come forth, they internalize it. But what people don't realize is not that you're not feeling the emotion, it's not that you're not having an emotion. What's happening is internalizing. But in that moment, a lot of times, if you are a person that is emotionally aware, then you know yelling, screaming, send somebody out, getting frustrated, and some of these other, which is known as negative emotions, uh, may cause your relationship to end or have some other negative detrimental effect. So it's thought that, well, maybe if I just suppress it, it'd be better. And that's been taught. Come on. How many of you, whether you have kids or you've told your kids or some other kids stop crying, especially little boys, we tell them, don't stop, hold on, stop that crying. And we teach them to choke their emotions. And a lot of times what ends up happening is they don't feel anything below, they don't feel any thing except for above their neck and below their waist. But all this here gets blocked out and it's like, can't penetrate. But what's happening is even though it's not an external expression, it's still internalized as pain. And over time, that often builds up to resentment, bitterness, anger, and a whole host of other things that is not healthy. It's really emotionally destructive to yourself or to whoever is experiencing that in the moment. And so there's been some studies that's been done. I also should tell you the source that I get some of this information from. So the original source was mindful.org, but I picked this article up from Greater Good magazine. I published it in 2020. And so I'm sharing some of the things from there. So what can you do to better regulate your emotions? Because if I could be honest, can I tell you a personal story? Listen, I can truly tell you that I used to be a person that struggled with even emotional regulation in terms of being able to temper my ability to express my emotions. So I was in tune with my emotions and I would just pop off. I remember this one time my sister had called me by my middle name, and I did not like my middle name at the time. I was like, it just annoyed me. And she said it publicly around guests. And I ended up leaving that house where we were with friends. And I pretty much, it was like 15 minutes from my mom's house, pretty much cussed and fussed the whole way home. I didn't dare disrespect my friend's house. It was my friend's house, and her dad and mom was there and all the things. But I was so upset and pissed off, and I didn't hold it. I got out of there, and I was able to release that emotion, which was good that I did. However, we get to learn how to you express your frustration, your anger, all of this, and not be toxic and not be detrimental and not scare the heck out of people based off of your expression. And even how to be more in tune with other people and their emotions. We got a few more minutes. Let's talk about it. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you want other videos. I talk a lot about relationships, relationship with God, relationship with yourself, relationship with others, and your time and money. These are like the 5 orbits of life that I really hone into. And so if you're looking to grow in your relationship intelligence, then I highly invite you to subscribe to this channel so you can learn more. Okay, let's keep it pushing. So what can you do? Well, the first thing is that you just want to heighten your awareness of being in tune with your emotions and not suppressing it. The first thing you need to ask yourself, when's the last time you cried? If you are like how I was a few years ago and hadn't cried for over a decade, or perhaps shared a few tears at someone's funeral, then I want to challenge you to say, are you really in tune with your emotions? Or you have learned how to suppress your emotions? So that's the first thing, because I'm sure there's things that's happening that whether it's caused you to be disappointed or otherwise, or even like just grieving other people. Like I saw an article just flashed up on my online, and it was saying that this lady, some girl had helped this lady save one of her children because she was slipping on ice, and I guess it was a power line down, and 2 or 3 of her kids had got electric shock to death. And one young teen saw and helped caught a child before that child had, had an issue. And in that, I became emotional in expressing the grief for that. So it don't even have to be something to you, for you, but you gotta learn how to show sympathy and empathy towards other people. Now I hope I'm not dropping terminology you're not familiar with, but sympathy, you guys know, usually when somebody's died, you're just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that that happened. Empathy is more like relating and showing like a level of compassion and like, I understand how that feels. I can imagine how that is to be you, and being a care and concern to the other person. So one is just awareness and allowing yourself to feel the emotion in the moment. And sometimes you have to take a deep breath so you don't pop off, yell, scream, and cuss and fuss at people. You can just take a step back and say, you know what? I just need to take a minute and think about that. And you don't have to say anything, but you do need to respond. And you can, like, don't be afraid to let the tears roll, man or woman, right? I like believe a man is a man till he cries. Just me. Just me. And I know a lot of people will be like, okay, men don't cry. It's healthy. It is healthy to cry. For everybody. Crying is not a woman thing, it's a human thing. But unfortunately, a lot of times it's us women have taught our men, our boys, not to cry, not to cry, not to cry. But that is unhealthy. So if you are a mom, please don't tell your son that anymore. Granted, we don't want them to be, whatever, but we need to give them the space to get angry, give them the space to have that emotion. The word God says, be ye angry and sin not. Because sometimes you need to be righteously angry when somebody sins against you, when somebody violates you, when somebody disrespects you. You should be angry. But angry don't mean, again, you have to cuss and fuss somebody out. You can be like, you know what? That was very inappropriate. And I don't appreciate how you spoke to me in that moment. I don't appreciate how you're treating me in this moment. Whatever it is, you can still express yourself and not get all out and bothered. So what we're saying, one, be in tune with your emotions. Secondly, allow yourself to feel. And I know I was going to say before I go down into my telling you to subscribe to the video, there has been studies that's been done that shows that people in certain professions, let me see if I can pull it up. There's certain people in certain professions, like police officers and a couple other professions, tend to have the highest suicide and substance abuse rate. Let me see if I can get those professions here. Okay, give me a second. It is the professions of physicians, police officers, and elite military. They are known to often suppress their emotions, and they have the highest level of substance abuse and suicide. And they also say there's another population of professionals, specifically veteran police, detectives, neurosurgeons, who tend to allow themselves to feel more, and they are known to have better sleep, increased job satisfaction, closer connections with their colleagues, reduction in headaches, and just overall more fulfillment. So the bottom line is suppressing and trying to pretend that the feeling's not there and trying to like you're not angry when you are is very unhealthy. And a lot of times it can lead to toxicity because it's called, no, I'm going to get too psychological on you guys, but it's known as maladaptive, which means it's a negative way to try to handle or respond to a situation. The healthier way is allow yourself to feel, right? You don't have to cross somebody up, but you can say, what? That really offended me. That really hurt me. Sometimes we always want to say what that person is doing or not doing, or project what they're doing, not doing, rather than reflect on the feeling we have. So when you're trying to express your emotions effectively to others, you can say, when you said that, that really hurt my feelings. When you did that, that really made me feel that I was not important. Rather than saying, oh, you never spend no time with me. You never take me to the movies. You never do da da da. We can change that language to say, how does what they do or don't do make you feel in the moment? And it helps you to communicate more effective. It's vulnerability. And a lot of times when people are suppressing their emotions, they are not being vulnerable. And you cannot really have close, intimate relationships with other people, whether it's a spouse or a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or child, without showing this level of vulnerability to open your heart and let somebody see how you truly feel. The last tip I want to give you in terms of being able to truly regulate your emotions in a healthy way and have increase your emotional intelligence is also through mindful, it's called a mindful based stress reduction. And there's a whole training around this, but what I would say is this also, you can use this like as a form of meditation, where you allow yourself to think about what that feeling felt like. What is, well, how do you feel about something earlier that day? And allow yourself to feel and experience that emotion, and even maybe journal about what that feeling is. Sometimes when I've been bothered by something, I just be asking myself, Jill, are you okay? What happened today? And I'm just like having this internal dialogue, and I'd be like, oh, when she said such and such, it made me feel a certain type of way. Because sometimes we can have a heaviness, like a, you know what I'm saying? Feel like somebody just knock you upside your chest and you feel the pain. And mentally, you may have to go back into your memory bank of what happened today that made me feel this way. I haven't asked myself that in a long time, and I feel like it's because I've become so much more attuned with my feelings and my emotions. I know what's happening in real time, and I don't try to hide it. I sometimes I may raise my voice. I try not to yell or scream, but I just learned, why I'm not going to let you get me out of character. But I will let you know that I felt really disturbed by what you did. It whether it hurt my feelings, whether it made me feel like I wasn't deserving, or it made me feel like I wasn't important, or whatever. We just got to be really raw and honest. And then when we did that, I just felt like, I don't know, we were not as close as I was thinking that we were. Let's share your heart. Anyway, that's my time, you guys. I want to share that. I hope this is beneficial to you. I hope this is serving you. And I want to again just tell you that to keep hanging out with me. If you want me to respond to any videos that come out, topics as it relates to all things relationships and even leadership, let me know, and I'll be glad to provide my perspective and her perspective on said topic. So it'll probably a combination. I like to go from my personal development experience, psychological perspective, and also a biblical perspective. Let's go. So subscribe to this channel and let's have more of these conversations. This is just the beginning of a deeper conversation of building your emotional intelligence so you can just be the person that God has called and created you to be on the earth. So until next time, that's my time. Be blessed.